Hey, everyone. This is Crystal. I'm one of Pat's granddaughters. Thank you so much for coming, either in person or virtually. You all look great. I'm sure you do. I can't see you, but I'm sure you do. I have to begin in Spanish for the first 30 seconds. Unfortunately, very, very poor Spanish is what I speak.
Lo primero que quiero hacer es agradecerle a Ana. Cuando yo pienso en mi abuelita, siempre pienso en usted. Mi abuelita quería estar aquí en Fort Stockton y esto solo fue posible gracias a usted. Ha sido una bendición gigante. Se agradezco de todo corazón. Le he escrito para dar mi información de contacto. Si alguna vez puedo ayudarlo, hágamelo saber. Soy bueno en todo lo relacionado con la universidad. Obtener becas, postular a la escuela de posgrado. A sus órdenes, Ana, con mucho amor.
Hopefully, I did not mess that up too much. It's been a long time since I busted out any Spanish. That was an expression of gratitude to Anna, who took care of my grandmother for so many years and with so much love. And now I hope that I don't mess up my grandmother's story. I know that I am leaving out a lot. But there will be time at the end for anyone to offer words of their own. Please do. Please fill in some of the gaps.
Here is what I know. Patricia, Esperanza, Vasquez, Urias did all manner of amazing things. She raised wild animals, including a flying squirrel and a raccoon. She taught a dog to talk. My mom swears this is true. She created an oasis in the desert. She could snatch flies from the air like a ninja. I saw her do it many times. She did not crush them. She would hold them gently in her fists and then shake them slightly for a few seconds by her ear. She liked to listen to their agitated buzz. Then she would release them. As they flew off, she would say, "I still got it." Boy, did she.
The most important thing to know about Grandmama was that she was completely committed to family. She would literally do anything for family. She let me live with her when I was 17 so that I could go to a better college. Grandpapa was not terribly keen about this arrangement. And I understand his perspective now that I'm an adult. It was a big ask, but it wasn't to Grandmama. My dreams about going to elite universities became her dreams. She helped me get to the University of Texas at Austin. That led to Oxford University in England. That led to Cornell. That led to Johns Hopkins. And that led to a research position at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, my dream job. My year with Grandmama also led to my own family. I met Ira at Fort Stockton High School. Of all the boys that came around, Ira was the only one that Grandma liked. She said that she could tell that he really liked me by the way that he looked at me. She also said that he had a nice body, which of course was something I did not want to hear from my grandmother. I would yell, "Stop!" And she would just laugh at me and say, "Oh, come on, Crystal. You know it's true." She was funny. She had an easygoing, gentle spirit. Her worldview was remarkably positive, and this is extraordinary given the difficulty of her early life. Her childhood sounds like something out of a Charles Dickens novel. Her father died when she was only 8 years old. Amma, my great-grandmother, took a job at the hospital to support her 5 children. And my grandmother dropped out of 3rd grade to care for her younger brothers and sister. Part of 3rd grade, that's all she got. And how much was 3rd grade? At that time, schools in West Texas were segregated. Latinx children attended separate and not equal schools. Today, it is well documented that these schools were designed to eradicate the Spanish language and culture of their students. But my grandmother had a curious mind, and she was a lifelong learner. She was militant about keeping up with world events, and she read every day. Her favorite articles related to biochemistry and nutrition. My grandmother was also a renowned beauty. My grandfather often said that my grandmother was the most beautiful woman that he'd ever seen. Then he would say, But if a man wants a happy life, he should marry an ugly woman. Grandma would just laugh and say, poor, poor Jessie. My grandparents met in childhood. After World War II, my grandfather raced home to marry my grandmother. It was a big love, and it lasted a lifetime. My grandfather set up oil rigs, and the family moved frequently. They were tiny home pioneers. They lived in a small trailer that they towed behind Grandpapa's truck. Frank, Jessie, and my mom have all done well: an engineer, a pharmaceutical executive, and an educator. They have prospered and multiplied. They live in beautiful homes and have beautiful kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids in Frank's case. A lot came out of that trailer. In large measure, this happened because my grandmother was in it. As with Amma, dementia took Grandma from us, but it was not all darkness. In many ways, she was a time traveler. She was able to relive beautiful periods of her life. Once I dragged her out of the house to a new Chinese restaurant that had opened on the Strip in Fort Stockton. At the time, I was in my early 30s, and that day, Grandma was in her early 20s. Not everyone gets to have lunch with their younger, more attractive grandmother. She would say things like, "Do you see all the men looking at me?" And I would say, "I see them." We had a great time. Each time that my kids visited her, she experienced the joy of meeting them for the first time, over and over. It was tragic, but also so beautiful. She was beautiful, inside and out. She was light. She was love. It is clear that Grandma came back to us at the end. This phenomenon is known as terminal lucidity. I first heard of it when President Ronald Reagan passed. He had advanced Alzheimer's disease, but immediately before his death, he recognized his wife Nancy for the first time in many years. Cases of terminal lucidity had been recorded for millennia, with the earliest accounts reported by ancient Greek and Roman scholars such as Hippocrates and Cicero. Grandma came back to us in the end. She responded to our calls. She even reached out for the phone when Madonna was laughing. It was clear that she waited for Frank. Only two were allowed to be with her, with my mom and Frank at her bedside and Jessie on the phone. All three of her kids were with her when she passed. Of course, she wanted them there, but I also think it was as much for my mom, Frank, and Jessie as it was for her. Like I said, she would do anything for family, even stave off death until her kids were assembled. In closing, I want to remind you all of her voice. She had the most melodious voice. It was music. This is from 2009. After the video, if anyone would like to share, please come forward. Grandma, I celebrate your life. I love you.
All right, let's see this dancing.
I'm pretty. Say, I'm pretty. I'm pretty. No. I'm pretty.
Say, soy bonita.
Oh, that's sweet.
You're so...
Gorgeous baby. Oh, don't take my picture.
No, it's a... Oh.